Tonight on News 5 Live, the Public Service Union says they too will strike. Teachers prepared to stay on the picket lines. But what about their students? And a new leader takes over at the Belize Zoo. Details of these stories and more coming up in tonight's newscast.
It's a fact that with Smart, you get truly unlimited everything. Only with Smart, you get unlimited data anytime. While with the other guy, it's only double data on weekends. With unlimited data every day with Smart, there's no need to wait. So, it's a fact that our unlimited plans beat the competition. Stop being measured and told when to use your data and get unlimited talk, text, and data. Experience the true unlimited plans with Smart. That's a fact. Make the switch and live smart.
Offside!
Was that a goal? Over.
As we continue to enhance customer experience, the Social Security Board is proposing the use of biometrics. Biometrics is the measurement of a person's unique physical characteristics, such as fingerprints and facial features, used to establish and verify that you are who you say you are. Biometrics will ensure services are provided to the right person at the right time, making customer transactions easier and secure. Identity management with biometrics will be easier. It allows us to quickly and accurately confirm your identity when accessing any of our services, from the moment a person is registered to the moment the payment of a benefit is made. With biometrics, fraud will be minimized by easily identifying those who pose a security risk. The enhancement of customer services to you means no more filling out of forms, no more presentation of an ID, and decreased waiting time. Your convenience and your information security is our priority. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
Contraband is illegal importation of fruits and vegetables or any commodities entering the country from an illegal port of entry. Contraband fruits and vegetables do not follow required sanitary protocols and may contain pests which can endanger agricultural industries, livelihood, and can result in the exposure to coronavirus. When purchasing these goods, you place yourselves and the lives of your loved ones at great risk. We advise the public to report any illicit activities to the nearest customs or Baja office. The Belize Marketing and Development Corporation, the Belize Agriculture Health Authority, and Customs Department encourage you to say no to contraband and buy local.
One year ago, an invisible but deadly virus altered our way of life. Upon assuming my responsibilities as Minister of Home Affairs, over 190 members of the Belize Police Department had contracted the virus. And regrettably, 2 of our heroes in uniform lost the battle on the front line of this pandemic. Today, I can proudly say that there are no reported cases within our department, and this is directly attributable to the phenomenal work of the healthcare workers and the team over at the Ministry of Health and Wellness. We are in this together. I believe in the COVID-19 vaccine. This is our chance, our opportunity, our window to return to normalcy. #GetVaccinated_Belize.
It is my time
to protect your life.
Don't wait to vaccinate.
I believe in the COVID-19 vaccine.
The vaccine is the best way to protect lives.
Don't wait, vaccinate.
Don't hesitate, Belize.
Vaccinate. Be COVID-19 safe.
If you care,
Love them.
Protect them.
Vaccinate them.
Good evening. Welcome to News 5 Live for Tuesday, April 27th. I am Marlene Cuellar. This week it was the teachers. Next week it will be the public service. News 5 has confirmed that PSU members will begin their strike action on Monday, May 3rd. Their concerns are similar to those of the NTUCB, which has expressed its solidarity with the joint unions. In a release, the National Trade Union Congress of Belize called for the implementation of a social partnership agreement that is based on a tripartite model, the ratification of UNCAC, and the removal of ministerial discretion from tax, land, and labor-related issues. Furthermore, the NTUCB, through its release, is calling for redistricting and reviewing of existing voters' re-registration list, the implementation of an aggressive tax reform exercise, and the rationalization of imports. As for the PSU's fight for good governance, Vice President Dean Flowers says the PSU strike action could go on for weeks.
When you're in a strike, Paul, there is nothing in law that stipulates that it's for 1 hour, 1 day, 24-hour, or 24 days. If it is that public officers, which includes police officers, BDF, Coast Guards, nurses, doctors, the good folks from the Civil Aviation Authority, the lab technologists in the public sector, the people in the financial sector, If it is that these public officers have a strong conviction for good governance and understand that you cannot put a price on governance, then yes, this will be a strike that we will proceed with for the long haul.
PSU Vice President Dean Flowers confirms that all consultations between the government and the joint unions have ended.
In our view, that the consultations that the government was having with the unions have come to an end. As you are aware, on the 12th of April, the Public Service Union did write to the Labor Commissioner and the Labor Minister, informing them that we were at an impasse and that there was existence of a trade dispute. In accordance with the law, I believe Chapter 298, Section 11.4 it is, the minister is required to put together a dispute tribunal, disregarding responsibility under the law, again, showing wanton disrespect and disregard for the law to put together the tribunal. And he has informed us that he will not do so. In keeping with the law, our notice of an impasse, or 21 notice to strike action as a result of the trade dispute continues to run. That will expire on the 3rd of May. At that point in time, we will proceed to strike action. We have fulfilled our obligation in accordance with the law. We will not be accused as the Minister of Labor of disregarding the law. We will not be accused of disregarding a regulation. We're acting in compliance with the Public Service Regulation as well as the Settlement of Dispute Act.
Members of the Belize National Teachers Union were once again absent from the classroom. Today, day 2 of the teachers' strike action saw teachers walking from the Battlefield Park in downtown Belize City to the House of Culture, where Cabinet was meeting inside. We spoke to branch president of the Belize District Branch, Tanya Flowers-Gillett, about today's picketing and their possible loss of earnings.
What we're doing today is an education campaign. We started from Battlefield Park and we're distributing our information flyer, notifacts, after which we will do a small picketing around the House of Culture today.
What's the message you want to send to Cabinet on the second day of the BNTU's strike?
We're sending the same message from day one. We're asking for good governance, corruption to come to an end, the implementation of UNCOC, nepotism to stop, transparency, financial accountability.
Has it been determined the timeline of these strikes in terms of how long will you guys carry this out?
Not as yet.
Any indication as to whether pays will be docked for striking for however long?
Well, obviously, if we're out of the classroom, obviously the government will dock our salaries.
But has that been confirmed?
I am telling you, we're out of the classroom, so obviously they will dock our salaries. It has been done in the past, so...
Is the consensus among your teachers that they are willing to take this salary dock?
Well, we're out here. You saw what happened yesterday. We're standing up, and we have our purpose for why we're standing up.
Is the union prepared to compensate teachers for the time out here?
I will not respond to that question at this point.
Any other
The
activities?
union, all we know, our union has our back.
Teachers were also actively striking in San Pedro on Monday. Today, those teachers engaged in an educational campaign to bring awareness among the general public of their purpose for strike action. One union member confirmed with News 5 that the union will follow through with its strike for for the remainder of the week.
Due to the pandemic, we weren't reporting to school daily. Some schools were reporting once a week, some schools were reporting twice a week. I can speak for Holy Cross, Anglican School, and for RC. We were only reporting once a week. However, virtual learning, we were doing that 3 times in a week. So then that was supposed to get done this week. However, as I mentioned, we're not going to get that done this week. I cannot say what will happen next week because then we are waiting on the union to give us an update on what will happen or what we will do next.
The last time the teachers went on strike was back in October 2016. It lasted 11 days. Their salaries were cut, and that matter was taken before the courts. As you heard from the BNTU's Belize District Branch President, the teachers expect that deductions will be made. So today, we asked Education CEO Diane Mejia if that is in fact the case. She says the law is clear and that the decision is left up to the managing authorities of the schools.
The rule actually states that it is the right of the teacher to go on strike. You have a right to strike, and the rule says also that you may not be paid. It doesn't say that you definitely will not be paid. It says that you may not be paid. That is a decision that comes from the managing authority.
Coming up, teachers have the right to strike, but children are out of school once again. Find out what the Ministry of Education has planned if the strike lasts more than a few days when we return.
Hello, friends. This is Dr. Bob Roberts with another 60-second sermon from God's Word. The Bible says, "These things have I written unto you that believe on the name of the Son of God, that you may know that you have eternal life." God wants His children to live with assurance and face the future with faith, but so many live in fear. When you ask someone if they are saved, they often reply, "Well, I hope that I am." Well, God wants you to know that. If you could be saved and not know it, then you could lose it and never miss it. Let me tell you an imaginary story that happened the night the death angel went through Egypt, taking the lives of all the firstborn sons in the homes where the blood had not been applied. A Hebrew father is putting his son to bed. The son says, "Father, will I die tonight?" The father says, "Son, I don't know. We have placed the blood on the doorpost, but we will have to wait until tomorrow and see." Another Hebrew puts his son to bed, and he too asks, "Father, am I going to die tonight?" The father replies, "No, son, you're not going to die. We have placed the blood on the doorpost and lintel, and just as God has instructed, and God can be trusted, go to bed and sleep well." Now the question is this: which son was the safest? Well, the answer is they were equally safe because both had the blood applied. The only difference is that one went to bed in faith and the other in fear. What about you, friend? Are you facing the future with faith or with fear? Today's 60-second sermon has been presented by Christian Foundations of Faith in cooperation with the Baptist churches in your area.
So, I'm going to wonder if by chance I could get your number. It's digit. Nice.
Of course. You have digital, right?
Yeah. Of course.
The truth is, your credit lasts way longer with Digi. Like if you top off with like $30, that could last you 90 days. With the other guys, that must save 60. Then with the other guys, you have to use all of your good primary credit before you even touch your bonus credit. But with Digi, you could use your bonus credit before you even touch your primary credit. Like, what are the point to have free credit if you can't use it how you want? So, what are your number?
Just give me one moment.
The truth is, only Digi offers nationwide LTE coverage, fastest mobile data speeds, and the best call quality.
Velikin, the beer of Belize.
I've never seen things this hard in our country before. Never. I've seen more grown men cry in the last few months because they can't support their families than I've seen in all the 27 years I've been in politics. I am asking the unions, I'm asking the teachers and the public officers to give us a chance. If we didn't believe this was necessary, we wouldn't be doing this. We gain nothing from doing this other than your wrath and your contempt. We know this, but we're in a desperate situation as a country and as a people. And the experts are saying that if we do nothing, in just a matter of months, we could hit the proverbial wall. It's better for us to do something now and find out a year from now that maybe we went too far than for us to not do anything. And 6 months down the road, we rue the day we never took the 10%.
Since Monday at 11:30 a.m., teachers effected strike action by walking out of the classrooms. It comes just days after some students returned for in-person classes after a year of distance learning due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Yet now, they are once again out of school. Education CEO Diane Mejia gave News 5 a one-on-one interview this afternoon. She says the students will be most affected by the strike.
We know that the students have been out of the classroom for a year, and so many schools have been working so hard. We had 55 who reopened on April 12th. They returned for face-to-face, and by all accounts, the return has been really good. Children are happy. Social distancing in effect, mask wearing, hand washing, everything is in effect. But it's been a successful return, so we're grateful for that. And we know that we have well over 200 schools who have also been working really hard to get everything ready so they can return on May 10th. So this is unfortunate. It's hard. It's hardest, I think, at the end of the day for the students. They are our primary concern right now.
CEO Mejia told News 5 the Ministry of Education will continue to monitor the situation since it is not known how long the teachers' strike will last.
I don't think anyone knows, how long this will last. We hope that it will not be something that will be prolonged. We need to keep monitoring. We need to know, and because everyone needs to know, right? It is our responsibility to make sure that we do what we can for schools to remain open. It is the responsibility of the managing authorities to do their best to ensure that schools are open, when we all need to know what is happening. Parents need to know, we were thinking we were getting back to school, now we're not. Or even, what's the status of our learning packages. So it's something that really has to be carefully watched so that we can know how we will proceed moving forward.
The reason why I asked that, because I know last year in March, when COVID struck, essentially the school year just ended abruptly. With this, is that a possibility too, that if this is to be prolonged, we might have to just cut the year short?
Unfortunately, it is something that we have to consider, yes, because we need to have a sense of how widespread the strike actually is, how many teachers are actually involved, from school to school, from level to level even. Data is important. I've said this so many times. We need to know exactly what is happening. It can't be a general, vague, notion, oh yes, I think so, or oh, I heard this. We need to know exactly what's happening, because then we can make informed decisions. That would be an unfortunate decision. It would be a hard thing to do, but it's something that we would have to look at, all possibilities.
The Public Service Union of Belize has joined the BNTU's criticism of some media houses, saying the union will avoid engaging with those which continue to run anti-union advertisements. They say the government-sponsored ads are designed to, quote, deceive and misinform the Belizean public, unquote. Vice President Dean Flowers discussed the PSU's position with News 5's Paul Lopez.
The ads, which I must add, are state-sponsored and state-created attempts to portray the unions as being anti-Belize. The unions are certainly not anti-Belize. We're pro-Belize and we're for Belize. And we will always be that way in the best interest of the people of Belize. What we are anti is an administration that refuses to address an economic crisis that was caused by poor governance and corrupt practices over the last 40 years. It is our view that the narrative that is being promoted out there is one of hatred, is one of division, is certainly one that is not calling for unity and for calmer heads to prevail. And that is what we're calling out, and that is what we're calling on the media to cooperate not only with us, but more so to bear in mind that a large population is vulnerable.
Will you name names, the media houses that the unions will intend to avoid?
Absolutely not, Paul. I think those media houses with whom the joint unions, and more importantly, with whom the PSU has engaged with over the years, know exactly who they are. We do not engage with political media houses. We're concerned, of course, that some of the prominent media houses, there are period of time when we may want to question their independence. But at the end of the day, as long as they're operating within certain standards and certain guidelines, we look past political bias. Okay, I want to state clear that has nothing to do with politics. I'm left to wonder if it is that the current administration sees us as a political threat or a viable third party, why they have taken the route that they have now taken to attack the unions via political ads. This is a new law.
It's a strong stance, but will it come back to haunt the union in the cases where the joint unions may need to make an issue public through the said media houses?
The Public Service Union reserves the right to make comment or make appearance on any issue or on any platform. That is our right, and so that is all we're saying. Nowhere in our release did we use the term that we're boycotting any media house for that matter. We're asking media houses to set guidelines and standards as it relates to ads that they put out to the public.
From the release, it says you use the phrase hate for profit. My impression is that your release is accusing the Free Press of a serious act against some 15,000 Belizeans, public servants, teachers.
The media houses are private entities, autonomous entities, profit-driven entities. Media houses are not the one producing these narratives. The media houses are not one producing these ads, they're being used, and their need for business is being exploited by the government to push these hateful anti-union ads.
As always, News 5 and other Channel 5 programs such as Open Your Eyes will continue to invite diverse viewpoints and to provide balanced coverage of both the joint unions and the government of Belize's positions on the issues. Our news production and sales department are and have always been separate corporate functions. After the break, farmers say mining in the Pomona Valley is eroding their fields. Find out what the company doing the extracting has to say when we come back. But first, here's a look at the latest COVID-19 figures.
set in place by the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. Passengers traveling to the U.S. must present a negative COVID test or a documentation of having recovered from COVID-19 to travel to the U.S. In light of this, Maya, in partnership with Caring Hands Clinic, have established testing centers in all their municipal airports. Caring Hands Antigen Test Center is operational in San Pedro, Belize City, Dangriga, Placencia, and Hopkins. These testing facilities are staffed by licensed healthcare professionals, including doctors, registered nurses, and nurse practitioners. Testing is done using Abbott rapid test devices that are FDA approved and made in the USA. The service is safe, fast, affordable, and the close proximity of the centers makes them convenient. Walk-ins are welcomed, but appointments are encouraged. If you would like to make an appointment, please feel free to do so at Make your appointment, get tested, and in 15 minutes, you can get back to your vacation.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Andrea Polanco, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 Belize teams do whatever it takes, go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 Belize on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, because news is now everywhere, all the time. And so are we.
April 25th was World Malaria Day, but Belize's Vector Control Unit is planning awareness activities across the country for this entire week. They're also celebrating the strides Belize has made as we work towards being declared malaria-free. News 5's Andrea Polanco has more.
Belize hasn't recorded a single case of malaria for the past 2 years and is on track to becoming malaria-free if the country can go to the end of this year without a case.
We're on track in terms of meeting targets because our last local malaria case was in December 2018. One of the major criteria for certification by the World Health Organization as being malaria-free is maintaining 3 consecutive years of 0 cases. So if we could reach the end of this year with 0 local cases, then next year we would be eligible to apply to the WHO to commence the certification process, which would be quite a feat for the country and quite an achievement.
Back in the 1990s, Belize had thousands of malaria cases. By the 2000s, more than 70% of all villages in northern Belize had malaria patients. And at around the same time, many communities in the west and south had active malaria transmissions. A robust initiative to eliminate malaria was introduced in 2014. And in years later, Belize's malaria cases went down to a few hundred. And by the end of 2018, the last malaria case was recorded in the country. In 2019, Belize was one of the Mesoamerican countries to implement a new program to target malaria through to the end of 2022. According to the Vector Control Chief of Operations, Kim Bautista, it took massive work and many partners to bring the malaria cases to zero.
Countrywide, we have a network of almost 300 community health workers and malaria voluntary collaborators. Those are the persons that are on the ground. They assist with malaria testing, screening, and from the vector control aspect, we deal with more large-scale interventions like residual spraying in target localities, distribution of insecticide-treated nets, the supervision of malaria cases in terms of treatment, and so it's sort of a collaborative effort, and that's really what has allowed us to move from where we were looking at hundreds of cases to where it is now.
Bautista says that the COVID-19 restrictions also helped to keep the number at zero over the past year. One of the things that they must now plan for is the reopening of borders.
You have workers within the migrant workers coming to work, whether it's in the agricultural industry or whether in the service industry, in tourism, whether it's construction or other activities. And you have persons coming from endemic areas where these diseases are more rampant. So those and you also factor in significant reduction in illegal crossings as well. I think all of these things played in our favor. So as a ministry, what we're looking at now is two things. We have to look at the start of the rainy season, which results in a proliferation of mosquitoes. And we also need to look at our education campaigns. We also need to look at the doing some preventative groundwork in terms of looking at the data from previous years and to see what are the hotspots that we need to go and engage the public. And lastly, we need to look at plan for the eventual reopening of the borders. As I said, once the borders are open, then it complicates things a little bit. So we need to ensure that all things are in place to mitigate the impact that those factors will have in terms of transmission.
And while the officials will continue to work to achieve a malaria-free status for Belize, members of the public can also play a big part.
It's a small program we run with 62 field officers, and they're the persons that are out there identifying and treating mosquito breeding sites. But the householder needs to meet us halfway, looking at whether it's used tires, uncovered drums, discarded cans and bottles around the home, maintaining the drains flowing in front of your homes. There are several things that as a householder you could do. So realistically, you can't depend on 62 officers to routinely visit thousands of houses across this country. So it has to be a shared responsibility.
Reporting for News 5, I'm Andrea Polanco.
On Monday night, we brought you the story of an environmental crisis that is taking place in Pomona Valley, where mining activities along the North Stan Creek River are adversely affecting the community. Residents claim that operations conducted by West End Construction, a company that has been working in the area for some time, have led to the erosion of farmland and other properties situated on the banks of the tributary. Incidentally, West End Construction is owned by two brothers who made headlines 2 weeks ago in respect of the Commerce Bight Port in Dangriga. Earlier today, News 5 headed to the Citrus Belt, and reporter Isani Cayetano and cameraman Kenroy Michael have more on what is taking place in Pomona.
The extraction of minerals from North Stann Creek River along the waterway directly behind Pomona Village is raising serious environmental concerns. Loss of property due to the erosion of the nearby riverbank is attributed to mining activities conducted by West End Construction.
What you are seeing is our citrus grove from Citrus Products of Belize Limited that has been physically eroded. In the past, we had these groves coming all the way down to the river. We could actually have our equipment driving down to the river. But because of the constant erosion, because of this mining, what you are seeing is just trees standing on the riverbank there. And if you notice, there's some of them that is almost uprooted. Just another flood that will be coming shortly. All those trees will be in the river.
The issue goes back to almost 2 decades ago, when mining permits were initially granted for the removal of raw materials from the area. Since then, it is believed that these activities contribute to the geological crisis that is being faced in the community.
You cannot come to Pomona and do this type of madness. Imagine, Isani, you being a villager here in Pomona, and this river now was in, let's say, Blue Creek or wherever this man is from, Shipyard, wherever he's from. And you leave from here and go and do that type of madness in their community. Question, could you ever dare think that that is ever possible? No, is the answer.
Businessmen Abraham and Heinrich Froese are the proprietors of West End Construction. Born and raised in Belize, Abraham has been operating in Stann Creek District since relocating from Blue Creek in the mid-80s.
I would beg to differ on some of those opinions that are being said about us. Firstly, we take the environment seriously. We try to rebuild the rivers, the banks, contrary to what was said, that we mine in a way that erodes the banks.
According to Froese, in all the years that his business has been operating under license in this location, there has never been an expression of discontent from the mining unit of the Geology and Petroleum Department.
As far as we know, we have not had any complaints from mining itself. Actually, they've recommended how we do our extractions, and we extract under strict guidance from mining, the mining unit. They guide us in where we can dig, so we really appreciate that. They've been a big help to us. But yes, we do have some people, some companies that accuse us of dredging in ways that undermine the banks.
Some residents are indeed unhappy with what is being done to the environment. The North Stann Creek River is where Cecilio Baide grew up. He says seeing it degraded in such a manner is upsetting.
The direct effect that it would give along the riverbank is tearing out more where people are living, residential area. That is what we are afraid of, because the river used to run on the other side, but it's tearing out on this side because they are blocking off over here, so the river will only follow where the lower end of the bank is.
And that is evident along parts of the embankment. In another section of the village, erosion has inched its way dangerously close to one residence that sits about 40 feet above the river.
We had brought in equipment to re-divert the river back to its original route. But now things has changed. There are new mining operators here in our community. And because of the lodge and the way the mining is going on without not complying to the proper mining regulations, it's becoming a greater problem downstream. And this home right here belonging to Mrs. Docelle Taylor, next 2 or 3 flood will be problem right here.
Despite the criticism levied against West End Construction, Froese says the primary aim is for the company to continue its work responsibly, since there is an overwhelming demand for raw materials.
Our goal is to extract responsibly. There's a need for aggregates. The country needs aggregates. A lot of people depend on aggregates. It should be done responsibly as I showed you, there's a correct way to cut bars and a wrong way to cut bars. And I would still want to see where anybody could show me where we have cut a bar wrong. All our cuttings are always done to mining specs.
Reporting for News 5, I am Isani Cayetano.
When we return, he has been urging his officers to get vaccinated. But when will the commissioner get his jab? News 5 asks him up next.
Nation, rain or shine, any weather. When we go ball, we go Berger. Quality paint, no faded colors. When we go ball, we go Berger. Let your imagination run free. Any color for this space, when we say ball, that mean it don't peel. Quality in every color, lifetime guarantee. When we go ball, we go Berger. When we go ball, we go Berger. Rain or shine, any color you need. When we go ball, we go Berger.
I assure you, we're not going to keep this any longer than we have to. We will re-establish the Cost Savings Committee and the Revenue Enhancement Committee. We will cut out the double dipping and all the unnecessary vehicle purchases and office rentals. We will actively reduce the contract officers unless they are necessary, scrub the staff list and trim the bogus and the ghosts. And we will go after every cent of every tax dollar outstanding to us, no matter who they are and who they are related to. I repeat, we will go after every tax dollar without fear or favor. You elected us to dig us out of this hole, not in one night or one day or 1 month or 5 months, but in a way that ensures that we emerge as a sovereign nation with our independence and our integrity intact. But we can't do this alone, Madam Speaker. We need you. We absolutely need the workers.
Why, Tony?
Boy, Keith, what you going on, man?
We actually can see we can need to buy a stack of them plastic plates and cups from the grocery shop because they run low.
Boy, I stopped importing that thing since April 15th, you know. And I just ran out to the last batch, must have been like 3 weeks back, you know.
Man, do I usually have anything? What is going on?
Check this, right? Under the new law, we ban all single-use plastics, so that the cups, plates, forks, spoons, and knives, all of that. Since April 15th, can't import none of them. Starting January 15, 2021, you can't manufacture them. April 15, 2021, you can't sell them. And after July 14, 2021, if you get catch with any other thing, you will get fined.
Me never know this. I guess I have to make some changes then. I have to make the customers know that anything not available. Anyways, bro. Thanks, man.
No problem, man. Take care.
Currently, we're using Smart Elite Vibe calling plan. We use it interbranch, we use it to call outside, and we also use it to call international. It's far cheaper than what we used to have before. Our new PBX box is new. So the PBX is very good because I can call to my Sartaneja branch, I can call to my Kikaka branch, I can call to San Pedro branch, and there's no cost using the PBS. Actually, right now, since we're in different locations, I can call main office from where I am at a no cost using the PBX system. I would recommend it, sure I would, especially the big enterprises who has a lot of employees. There's a lot of reduction in costs, 50% of saving. Put that on a year, it's a lot of money that we're saving. Money that we could return to our members, since we give back dividend to our members.
Visit our showroom or call 670-6710 to find out how Smart's corporate plan and PBX systems can benefit your business. Consultation is free.
I strive to give my child the best nutrition, but I know it's not enough. It's also important to protect him. Clim Growing Up or Clim 1 Plus contains prebiotics, vitamins and minerals that help strengthen their immune system, helping them achieve 100% protection plus nutrition. That's why I give my child Clim 1 Plus. Clim, your love, their future. Clim 1 Plus is not a breast milk substitute from 1 year onward.
The Belize Zoo and Tropical Education Center has a new leader. He's a familiar face, having spent over 2 decades with the organization. His academic studies and experience have prepared him for this career advancement. Today we stopped in at the zoo for a chat with the new director about his exciting new role.
Hey, bud. Come, boy.
Celsa Pot is the new director of the Belize Zoo and Tropical Education Center. He has spent the last 25 years at the zoo, and for the past 13 years he has served as the operations and finance manager. It's a role that's a natural fit for Pot, but it's also a challenging time as revenues are down by almost 80%. But Pot says that they will pivot and weather the tough times with the help of their strategic plan.
In February of 2020, we completed our strategic plan. And sadly, due to the pandemic, we have to revisit that. So one of the first things I need to do is to look at the strategic plan, look at some of the activities we had proposed, the objectives, and see how we can revisit them and look for new direction.
And as he takes up the mantle to lead the Belize Zoo and Tropical Education Center into a new chapter of leadership, Pot says that the future of the zoo will be guided by years of planning with committed people at the helm. And when you visit the zoo, you will be greeted by the same native animals you've come to know and love.
We're going to stick with all our natural native animal. You know, some people are already asking, so are you guys going to bring in exotic animals? Because a lot of people know that Sharon was totally against exotic animals. Don't expect to see any lions or tigers. You want continue to see your jaguar, your tapir, your toucan, your scarlet macaw, and just the nature of how the zoo go about housing these animals. You know, our animals are injured animals, our animals are animals that are confiscated by the government because people have them in small areas. They're ill-treated. Animals that are injured, found on the road, brought to the zoo for care, health. And some of these animals we release back into the wilds. The ones that are unable to be released, we keep them at the zoo for educational ambassadors.
And research and conservation work will be re-energized under this new leadership at the Belize Zoo and Tropical Education Center.
The plan is to move the zoo towards a center of conservation science. People usually see zoo as an amusement park with collection of animals where you come and recreate. And rightly so, because we do create connection, we do create bond with these animals when we visit zoos and parks. But the role of zoos now is more to help with conservation of endangered species. So we at the Belize Zoo, even before, like within the last 5 years, have begun focusing on landscape conservation. As we see the forests in Belize, the wildlife habitat are disappearing, more and more the importance of the Belize Zoo and zoos in general are being recognized because we provide, for example, we provide breeding possibility for animals that are critically endangered. This is something that is big in larger zoos where animals are bred and released back into their former range. Animals that are extinct in the wild, they're released back into the wild. So the zoo can start playing that role here in Belize in terms of wildlife conservation. So moving the zoo towards a center for conservation science means we'll be doing more research. So looking at what are the factors influencing some of these species in the wild, what is working towards the protection of these species? What can we do for people to live in harmony with wildlife?
But while Potts' vision for a bold and exciting chapter at the best little zoo takes shape, he promises that visitors can look forward to a dynamic experience that brings education and fun at the forefront of the visit. It's built into the principles that will remain to honor founding director Sharon Matola's vision.
The Belize Zoo and Tropical Education Center was built for the Belizean people, to bring the people of Belize closer to the animals, closer to the wildlife of Belize. You know, when people appreciate, when people learn and understand the role the animals play in their lives through ecosystem services and other roles, then they'll be able to appreciate and care for and advocate for the protection and conservation of these wildlife. And basically that is what the Belize Zoo and Tropical Education Center is all about.
Reporting for News 5, I'm Andrea Polanco.
A hotel in southern Belize was held up on Monday afternoon. Police responded to a call from the Golden Motel Inn in Punta Gorda and were told by the owner that 3 people, a woman and 2 men, entered demanding money. They ransacked the business and stole an undisclosed amount of money, jewelry, and beverages. They also took a white Toyota Hilux that had been parked in the garage and fled the scene in the vehicle. Later that day, police intercepted 2 of the suspects at the Trio Junction. They were driving a black Ford Ranger pickup at that point. Kobe Stefan Dyer of Hattieville and Kimberly Monique Koyi of Placencia were detained. A search of the vehicle yielded a pistol and live ammunition, as well as other items. Neither individual had a firearms license. The Ministry of Infrastructure Development and Housing issued a statement clarifying the details of an accident on April 23rd that involved one of its vehicles. According to the ministry, a civil engineer was on an inspection trip, but while returning from Belize City to Benque Viejo, he lost control of the government-assigned pickup truck between miles 64 and 65 on the George Price Highway. The driver ran into a concrete culvert and overturned near the IT Vet School in San Ignacio Town. Based on the investigation, the ministry notes that the public officer involved breached the internal vehicle use policy and therefore intends to write to the Public Services Commission recommending that the public officer be suspended without pay and be surcharged for damages to the vehicle. The ministry assures the public that the use and security of its vehicular and other equipment assets are of paramount importance to the ministry and shall be managed and protected in compliance with the relevant stores and financial orders. The first 3 phases of the COVID vaccination exercise are currently open. Members of law enforcement agencies as well as tourism stakeholders can now get vaccinated. But as of last week, just 13% of police officers had received their first dose of the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. As we found out, Commissioner Chester Williams is not among those vaccinated officers. We asked him why.
I have not yet been vaccinated. I will be very soon. I have been encouraging officers to do so, and I believe that I should give them the preference, and whenever my time comes, then I will go and do mine.
Will the media be invited, sir?
Of course, I'll invite the media to come along.
Just ahead, he has years of experience in conservation. Now, there's more news after the break, so stay tuned.
For the best built tools with the best performance and service, Hilti is the brand you can trust. Our warranty program is second to none. Hilti will repair or replace any tool that breaks as a result of materials or manufacturing defects for 20 years. Get 2 years of no-cost wear and tear coverage, including parts. Hilti, the best tools with the best coverage. Available at Benny's Quality and Savings.
The contamination of water we all depend on is a very urgent issue. As Belize's popularity and industries grow, challenges increase. In this episode, we will examine the issue of water pollution in Belize. Water pollution is the contamination of water bodies, usually because of human activities. Water bodies include lagoons, rivers, aquifers, and oceans. On the marine side, the discharge of sewage and bilge water from cruise ships and other live-aboard vessels, in combination with unregulated development of coastal areas, has led to the degradation of marine ecosystems such as mangroves and coral reefs. Our inland waters are facing their own challenges. As agricultural development increases, pesticides, fertilizers, and waste products are running off into rivers. Increased river traffic from boat tours and sugar barges adds to the already stressful conditions of the freshwater ecosystems. In addition, companies that collect sewage sometimes dump the waste right into the waterways. Additionally, in densely populated areas like Belize City and Orange Walk, poor sewage designs result in the contamination of groundwater and of water bodies by both sewage and wash water. In many cases, homes and businesses dump their wastewater directly into drains, which leads to rivers and the sea. Wastewater, detergents, and petroleum collect in drains that empty into waterways, such as the New River and the Belize River. This, along with the runoff and discharges from the agricultural and industrial businesses, have been inadequately monitored and enforced. The answers to overcoming water pollution issues are fourfold: improved infrastructure, adequate treatment, increased legislation and monitoring, and of course, changing our habits for the better. While it is urgent that better management on a policy level is needed, there are a few things we can do at home to help. Ensure proper treatment systems are installed for all wastewater at your home and business. Don't dispose of oil from your automobiles or cooking and household detergents down the drain. And lastly, minimize the usage of chemicals and fertilizers and report any dumping into waterways to the Department of the Environment. The government has recognized the threat of inadequate liquid waste management and is working toward goals of reducing and reversing its effects. For more information on what's being done about water pollution and ways you can help, visit our website at doe.gov.bz. I'm Alison Castillo, and now you know.
Es un hecho que puedes obtener servicios ilimitados con Smart. ¿Cansado de que se corte la línea cuando más necesitas estar conectado? Es un hecho que cuando te suscribes al plan de Smart Plus, obtienes llamadas, textos y datos ilimitados. Y también es un hecho que te puedes suscribir con un grupo de 5 miembros al plan Smart Share y hasta 40 miembros al plan Smart Enterprise para llamadas, textos y datos ilimitados. Smart tiene los verdaderos planes ilimitados. Es un hecho. Sé Smart y vive de forma Smart.
A Belizean student in Florida is preparing for the Miss Florida Teen Competition this summer. 17-year-old Isabella Zabanet will enter as Miss North Tampa Teen USA. But her ultimate goal is to one day represent Belize on the world stage as Miss Universe Belize. Currently, she's pursuing a degree in Tampa, majoring in political science and international studies. She spoke to News 5 about why she entered the pageant.
It really was kind of just a spur of the moment thing. I'd only been living in the States for about a month and a half, 2 months, when I started seeing the ads and really starting to think about, okay, Bella, maybe you could do this. And so it was about 2 months into living here that I applied, and it was kind of just to see if I would even qualify. The things that I've done back home would make the cut.
One of those things she did at home included starting a non-profit when she was a student at Independence High School called Project Royalty.
Some people in Belize may know this, but I did a big thing when I was Miss Independence in 2018, and I did this in 2019. I had a non-profit, and it still exists, it's still happening, but with COVID it's kind of been a little crazy, where we let prom dresses and formal wear, and we gave them to girls who wanted to go to prom but couldn't afford it, or we just wanted to help, you know, give girls opportunities, because prom is a big deal, you know. So that's what I tried to do under my reign, and I still do that.
Zabani is continuing her dress drive in the U.S. in partnership with 2 charities. She is also working to increase awareness about bullying and encouraging young women to embrace their inner beauty. She feels pageants are sometimes misunderstood.
From the outside, it may seem like pageants are just this beauty competition and how pretty is she? You know, that's what people, the stereotypical, you know, person will just be like, oh, pageants, they're judging her, and if she's pretty, so people think it's like this extremely sexist thing, and it's really not. In my experience with pageants, I've worked with incredible girls, and I mean, they have been on lower scales. When I won Miss Independence, I only competed against, I think, five or six other girls, so it was much smaller, and it was just for my local town, you know. And then when I was like 10 or 11, I think, I did Queen of the Bay, which is just another little local pageant in my town, and I don't even think I placed. I didn't win anything, so it was just opportunities, something to do for a little girl, you know, because there's not too much. This is definitely my biggest pageant thus far. Hopefully my last. I want to do possibly even Miss Florida, maybe, if this is successful, and then Miss Belize, of course. I'm a firm believer that nobody is ugly. I mean, like, God created us in his image. And so I mean, even if you're not stereotypically what people will consider pretty, there's always something beautiful about you, to me. That's just how I see people. That's, you know, that's what I see people as. So all these girls to me are absolutely stunning. And I don't have self-esteem issues, but personally, I think a lot of them are much prettier than I consider myself to be. You know, these girls are gorgeous. And they seem like have it all together. They know what they're doing. These girls go above and beyond. I've met a couple of them, and they're absolutely incredible people. And I personally am really through proof that I can just be around these people and like considered one of them. That's huge for me.
Reporting for News 5, I am Paul Lopez.
The Miss Florida Teen USA competition is scheduled for July. Prizes include over $100,000 in gifts, cash and scholarships, and a variety of fashion and beauty services. And that's the news. Tonight's broadcast is available in text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at News 5 Live. I'm Marlene Cuellar. Thanks for joining us. And from all of us here at News 5, please remember to wash your hands, keep your social distance, and stay safe. Good night.